Hi everybody, welcome back to Simple. I haven't done a YouTube from Simple for a while, so I thought I'm going to reflect back on how do you select, choose, and lay out perennials in social systems of living. Actually just putting them together so they live well together, and that stewardship and gardening are something that flow into each other, not something that you have to kind of struggle with. And that's all based on plant relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I wanted to show you something simple introduced into their to-go cups. I think this is so good. And it's not good because I don't think it's very wasteful, because actually it makes you feel a little happy. They have these little stoppers they put in the cups, and all these other places have them, and they're plastic. There's a little wooden one that's pressed out. And you know that little smiley face? That's not a bad thing to greet you in the morning, because sometimes you don't really know how you're feeling. You're just happy you got dressed and had something to eat, and you're on your way to where you need to be. So I thought the little smiley face, and it's a collectible. I have them in my visor. I've got a community of about 15 of them in my visor, kind of smiling down on me. So I think it's something just to bring a little bit of lightness to the day. And you never know when you need a smile from a wooden stick, okay? So let's get into what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to put him over here, keep him watching what we're doing. So I always like to start when we're in Simple with two questions. So let me read the first one to you. Do you realize in garden design, when you choose your first plant or plant pattern, that reflects on all your future plant choices? I'm going to read that again because it's very important. Because a lot of times when we choose plants, we really don't know why we do it. One plant pops in our head, oh, I've used this a lot, it's been very successful. I just got to get going, I'm going to start with salvia or whatever. So we really don't have a way of judging the value of selecting that first plant or that first pattern you create. So let me read it one more time to you because of the value that this question has, at least it has for me. So I'm just really sharing you things I do, and I don't think it means that everybody should be doing things I do. It's just this is what helps me get into laying the plants out in a thoughtful way and putting them in a way that I can care for the garden effectively. So the question is, do you realize in garden design when you choose your first plant or plant pattern that reflects on all your future plant choices? Why? And I'm going to let you think about that for a while, and while I'm laying some plants out later, I'll show you why that is so important to consider. The second question, how does workability live into creating your planting design? And earlier we discussed workability. That's a very important word. Workability means whatever you're doing, what's the outcome of your actions? And can your design be cared for? Are you designing with the idea of who and how that garden will be cared for and loved? That's very important. So what I have here, let me go. What I have here are some of the grids I've done earlier, and what we're going to do is lay out a grid, actually lay out a garden, and we're going to do it right here in Simple. So I wanted to show you some of the grids, and they're very minimal. They're small patterns with about 8 or 9 plants in them. And the first planting I have is Asclepias incarnata with Phlox David. Both plants like moist soil. I have the nice white and the Asclepias coming up through that, blooming first. The phlox coming up slightly later and blooming with white flowers. But what it does, it gives me the advantage of reviewing. And it's only cost me a little bit of time with pencil and paper and with the grid paper. And I can review it and say, well, I don't like this part, I'm going to change this. But your mind keeps actively pursuing how the plants will come together. And that's the key part, is not letting your mind rest from putting patterns together. You go from one thought to the next, and then finally you look at it and you go, this is going to be a good start. And another one I have, this one is in June to early August, Echinacea alba, Echinacea purpurea alba, the one actually grown from seed, and that one's very durable in our climate. It seems to live very well other than some of the hybrid selections. It has genetic knowledge, I think more so how to live here than a lot of the selections that come from distant areas. And I have Echinacea alba and Coreopsis palmata. And the Coreopsis palmata will bloom earlier than the Echinacea alba. It will still have a few flowers, but the palmata has beautiful seed heads, green large seed heads. And above the green seed heads, the echinacea alba will be blooming above that. And that's a nice pattern, and it's very easy to grow, and it has durability to it also. Another pattern for July to August is Panicum Heiliger-Hain. It's kind of a shorter, slightly upright panicum, introduced by Ernst Pagels in the late 60s, I believe, early 70s. And I have that with Perovskia Blue Steel. Blue Steel is a Perovskia done by seed, and it's kind of like the Perovskia triplicifolia. And the genus has changed to salvia, and that's okay. We'll call it salvia. I can't even remember the species right now, but I just like the way those two combine. And you can see on the grid here how many I have placed. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Perovskia, and in between that I have 4 of the Panicum Heiliger-Hain. The Heiliger-Hain will flow out a little bit at the top, and this can be in average slightly dry, slightly moist soil. It has a pretty forgiving nature as far as planting. Now let's just look at 2 more here I have. I have Spiralis heterolepis, Solidago golden fleece, and Aster oblongifolius October skies, which is slightly shorter than the species. And you can see on the grid, I have the markings here, that I have Spiralis, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, kind of linear and one out on the side with the Solidago drifting between them. And then I have a Solidago, and I put the Aster oblongifolius, which is going to get moundy, on the edge. And again, I can review this and say, you know what, I don't think I need the Aster in here. It might be too big. Maybe it won't be too big, but I can ask questions of every marking I put on the grid paper. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25 square feet. And this is more for the month of September. And then the other one I have here is Schizocarium Little Luke. Little Luke is an introduction I did. It's actually green. So when people first see Little Luke, it's very short though. It gets around 26 inches tall, but the foliage is green, not blue. Well, you might need, if you're designing, maybe green mixed with blue would be a nice contrast. And Little Luke has stunning fall color. I think it's the strongest fall color out of many of the schizocariums. And I have that with October skies and Solidago Wichita Mountain that Bluebird introduced. It's a very vertical, slightly arching Solidago with spiked flowers, and it hasn't receded very much at all. I have no real competitive issues with that in the garden. So these are the 2 Solidagos I use because they respect their space basically. A lot of the other Solidagos I don't put in the garden till the 3rd, 4th, or 5th year because they're very aggressive reseeders, and I don't need them in there out competing all the young plants. So you can see how they're laid out by what I have written down here. And I have a Little Luke scattered 5 through the garden. Wichita Mountain, 1, 2, 3, because they're going to get wider and lay into the Little Luke. And again, it's 1 October skies in the corner. And I'll mention this for the 5th time too. Review, review, review. And as you keep reviewing, it's kind of like practicing the piano or practicing any instrument. The more you practice, the more you get the feel, your mind just starts to flow in that direction. And you can't help but really pick up the idea of the plant relationships and how those relationships can continue to evolve as you evolve, continuously putting those thoughts into yourself. If you don't review it, if you do it once and you're done, you're going nowhere. You're looking at it one time, I got to get this done, you're rushing. Take yourself out of the culture we live in now of how fast can I get somewhere, and ask yourself, if I'm going somewhere, how can I enjoy where I'm going? Enjoy the ride. That's so much more endearing than how can I get somewhere faster. When you get somewhere faster, you're not going to see anything, except you're going to get there. And is getting there the best thing you want to do anyway? So just take your time, review, and know when you're reviewing it, you're improving who you are as a designer, and you're improving your knowledge of those plants because you're repeating who they are and how they live together over and over in your thoughts. And it becomes exciting. And I'm excited for you too. I'm really happy with the people that are taking their time looking at how to design plants. So let's go over, we're going to move some tables together, and we're going to lay out a garden on the tables. I'll show you some of the patterns that I have ready to look at, and we'll lay those patterns out on our call it the big game board. All right, let's walk over there. Well, we've laid out the game board. I call it the game board. I use this when I teach. I do a perennial plant community class with the College of DuPage in Glen Ellen. I've been doing it for almost 14 or 15 years now. And with the students, at the end of the last class or class and a half, I have a 120-foot square game board like this. I just mark off square feet, and I use the cutout construction paper as plants. And we put a label on which color is going to be which plant. And then the students get together in a collaborative way. It's all about collaboration and partnerships. Who can you ask questions to? It's not just you trying to know everything, because that never works. You can't know everything. In fact, sometimes it's good to start by knowing nothing. It seems odd, but by knowing nothing, you can build off of something as an individual way of looking at it, not as something you've done before. So these represent the plants and the square foot. And with this, I can practice laying out the garden. I can rearrange everything, and I know how the plants will be interacting because I know their growth rate and growth habit. Again, when you take a young plant in a 4.5-inch pot, 2.5-inch pot, 6-inch gallon, you have to know the plant's growth rate and growth habit from youth to maturity. There's really, I can't think of any other way to think about it. And when you know how they're going to grow into each other from young plants to adults, you'll understand how they're going to share light values together and how they're going to relate as they grow, so one's not shading out the other. And you start with plants that respect their space. I've gone over this in a lot of the YouTube shows, but the answer isn't by knowing, the answer is by doing. Practice, doing, practice, and doing. And I still have to rearrange some of the plantings. I'm not saying this is a 100% successful. Nothing's 100%, except you could be 100% wrong. That can happen. So let's look at how I use this, and we'll look at some existing plant relationships that you'll see images of, and I'll show you how I laid it out to begin with. But first, I just want to read some thoughts. What are the plants? What are the plants asking of you? How do they look at this as their perspective on wondering what you know and what you're looking for? So it's simply, how do we stay healthy in the earth living in plant communities? How do plants maintain a healthy relationship with each other living in a community? What characteristics should you come to know about us as you place us in the earth? And I mentioned that already. For me, it's growth rate and growth habit. You have to know soil conditions, light conditions, soil moisture. There's a lot of other things you have to consider, which you do need to consider. And as we mature, that's as the plants mature, as we mature into each other, how does your love for us enhance our and your way of being? That's an important question. As the plants grow into each other, how does your love for them increase, and how does it affect who they are and how you are relating to them? Those are questions that you ask every day about yourself. How does your job relate to you? How do your family relate to you? How you relate to yourself, relating to your family? There's all these beautiful questions we have to ask every day, and we just don't express them. There are always those fluid thoughts running through our head constantly. From the moment we wake up, there's fluid thoughts flowing through our head. And then you selectively become aware of them and which one you need a higher awareness of so you can answer them through your day. And at this picture, you see, really it's all about composition. In everything, the composition of a baseball team, a football team, music, dance, the steps in dance, everything is composition. How are things placed together so they relate well to each other, with an outcome, to get an outcome that is healthy and can go in a healthy direction, and that's with everything. So let's look at the first one I have here. It's a simple combination. I mean, oh, Roy, that's too simple. Well, I think it's better to start simple than start in a complicated way. I mean, in 1961, I think, We didn't take Alan Shepard and launch him right towards the moon, hoping he'd get there. Let's see what happens. We got a Redstone rocket. Let's just fire this guy into space and see if he can get to the moon. That's not how it worked. You had a little suborbital flight, 15 minutes long, and we worked our way into Apollo through the Mercury program, through Gemini, and into the Apollo program. It's one step, and we built off of that. That's how you build a football team, how you build all these teams. How do you build a team you're working with at whatever office, company, or you're at? Even as an individual, if you're the sole owner and you have no staff, you do have a team. You're creating a team with the people you've come to know, who you can call and ask questions to. So you're still creating an outer team of people you can count on and call, and they're calling you with the same questions that you might be asking them. It's very important to have teammates in everything you do, and share. There's nothing more important than sharing and finding people to get information from. So okay, the first combination is Calamagrostis, Carl Forster, and Agastache Blue Fortune. Very common plants. So let's see, this will be Blue Fortune. I'll take the blue one. And Carl Forster, okay, well, why not take the green? So if I look at this, and I don't have it on a grid right now, I'm just looking at this as my grid. I think I'll put a Carl Forster here. I'll put one in the middle there. And I know Carl Forster has a vertical growth habit. The Agastache is vertical, but slightly mounds out at the top, looser at the top. And I'll put one over here. I got them on 1 foot centers. This will be a little farther apart, maybe 15 inch. 15 inch. I'll put a Carl Forster here. I think I'll try one here. I'll space this a little farther apart. There. Agastache, Agastache over here. Let me walk around to this side. I think I'll do a Carl Forster here and an Agastache here. Oh, and another Agastache here. So I will review that. Now, how do I like that? So I've got an Agastache. It'll be leaning in. It depends what it'll be leaning into next. So if I have an understanding of what patterns I'll be using next, like I might come over here and put some echinacea alba, and maybe not. Or I might want to just separate what's next with the vertical grass. If I again know what's next, I might put another Carl Forster there. And then I might look at that and say, well, that might be too grassy. I've got too much over here, weight over here. I might be too grassy on that side with too much Carl Forster, so I think I'm going to go back to the Agastache. And I think the Agastache is going to take me into Coreopsis verticillata, Coreopsis palmata. I can put other plants in here, echinacea alba. I can do other patterns in here working off the Agastache. So that's basically how I look at it, and again, it's reviewing it. Okay, I'm very comfortable with that as a start. And that way I can look at it, I can know how they relate to each other. And it's fun. You're actually gardening and it's March 3rd or March 4th. So let me collect these up. The next pattern that I like to work with you on, we'll take a look at, is a Veronica called Lightsaber. I like the Veronica selection of Lightsaber. I love its vertical look. It gets around, maybe 30 inches tall, 28 to 30 inches tall. Let me get these Carl Forster out of the way, put them back in the nursery. And I have Lightsaber mixed with geranium sanguineum max fry. So we've got about this high, 26, 28, 30 inches, depending on soil moisture. And we'll take this to be Lightsaber, and then we'll take this to be geranium sanguineum. So again, I'll look at my grid. This is just a piece of painting tarp. That's all it is. It costs about $8. And a marker. I just mark. And actually, to be honest with you, know where this would work good? Landscape architect firms. Get your people out of your cubicles into a room where they can share ideas. is sitting in a little box. That's not helping anybody in a little cubicle thumbing through pictures of plants. That's the most, that's a design with really minimal feeling. And unless you've grown those plants, you have no idea who they are, how they live, and how they live together with other plant materials. So get the group together here and put them around here and have them thinking together, sharing ideas, talking together. And it wouldn't be bad if you bought them a little food too. That might help the whole thing. Bring them something to eat while they're doing this. So this is Veronica Lightsaber. I think I'll put one here. I'm putting them on 15-inch centers. 3 there. I'm going to lay the Veronicas out first. They're going to have the vertical structure. You can see in the picture that nice vertical structure. One here. One here. One here. And I'll put probably a little closer, right there. I'll put that one a little tighter. I'll move this one over to here. Here, I think I'm going to put one right here too. Okay. And I'm going to take the geranium Sanguinium Max Fry. Put one over there. One over there. One in the center, and you have to know the habit of Max Fry, it spreads by woody rhizomes. So that's going to spread all through. As long as it can collect light on those woody rhizomes, it'll probably get about that high in between the Veronicas. It's going to be healthy. The Veronica, with its vertical growth habit, is going to let light right through. It'll have plenty of light to collect for the geraniums to stay healthy. And I'll put some geranium here and there. Now, the review time. So let me see how I feel. All right, Veronica, vertical. I like it coming out this way because I can blend other plants. I could start with Cecularia autumnalis if I want, going this way. Put some Allium Summer Beauty in between that. I could actually start with even some Sporobolus heterolepis over here, 2 over here, and coming off of that, I could put some Allium Summer Beauty, some Calamintha, and these are the kind of the go-to plants. Or I could change the whole thing around and probably put in a Inula, this small Inula. It's about this high. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it has yellow daisy flowers. It's a short Inula that could go right here, and that blooms in late June and has yellow daisies. So I like the way it goes through here. I have a little gap here. So I might move this here, put this in the center here, put this here, space them around. And when you get in the field, if you got the right number of plants, you'll do your field adjustments too. But I'll review it and think, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with this. I see the Veronica coming up. The geranium won't really start to send out those woody rhizomes for about 3 years. Then they'll start getting woodier, and then they'll blend together nicely. Okay, that reviewing is the key part. And also, if you're working with people, they can question things. You get a lot better reviewing other than just questioning yourself when someone's standing there who might have grown the plant too in their garden. Okay, the next pattern is Perovskia, the blue steel. So let me collect these up. I think I'll leave these out here for Perovskia blue steel. All right. And Echinacea alba. So I got blue steel. I'm going to make Echinacea alba. Let's see, I don't have white cards. Yellow. We'll put yellow as Echinacea alba. So I'm going to take some Perovskia. Let me take some of these out. Now the Echinacea, Perovskia blue steel is like a Triplycifolia, the species. It gets big and it gets wide. So it's going to be, it's going to be pretty good size, especially at the width by the 3rd year. So I'll put an Echinacea here, Perovskia. I think I'll put Perovskia here, Echinacea here, Echinacea here, Echinacea there. Move that Perovskia out here a little bit. That one's good. Move this here. Maybe get another echinacea here. No, here. Okay. And I'm doing this pretty quick, so that means my review will take a little time. I don't want that there. I want to blend into something else with the white coneflower going this way. So I'll put one here, one there, take this one out, and put an echinacea alba right here. Now I got the Perovskia in here. I got one Perovskia in the corner. That's going to lean out. I got a tight planting here. Okay, I got to review that. This needs to be farther apart. I need to put that there, here, put that here, move this here. So roughly I want about a foot in between, maybe 15 inches. And if I look here, maybe I'll take this one out and leave this here. I now want to get about at least 15 inches between there, so I can take one out. So I've got a little better spacing, because the Perovskia is going to get big. And the coneflower is vertically going to come right through it. You'll have lower foliage, the middle foliage is going to have enough foliage right here to collect sunlight coming down. And the Perovskia is it's dense, but it's not that dense, and it's going to let light through because the foliage is small and the branches are arching outward. Okay. So after I review it, I got tighten that up, space. I got space here. I feel good. I feel comfortable about that. And I look, what would I have to do? Then I can question, what do I have to do 5 years from now or 3 years from now? What I might have to do 3 years from now, I might have to prune the Perovskia if it gets too big, crowding out the center. See these two in the center? If that Perovskia is cutting light down to the center, I might have to prune these to keep them shorter. And really what I sometimes do, I just prune off half the plant going this way early in like mid-June or so, prune that off. Or I might take one out. It could be one of the Perovskias come out, maybe going this way, and I put another echinacea in and I work that way with another group of plants. But you're giving yourself options, and you haven't even, it's March 3rd. And you're already writing mental options or writing down options of what you can do 3 to 4 or 5 years from now as you put your patterns together. So this is to me, for me, working with our staff too, this is a great training program just to get all of us to think about the patterns, patterns and relationships. I mean, it just works as far as a thought process. Let's look at our next pattern. Wow. Next pattern is Perovskia, Echinacea alba, Aster twilight, and Achillea terracotta. So I haven't used terracotta yet that much. I like it. It's a nice yarrow. It goes well in average, slightly dry soil. It gets too wet, it can decline fairly quickly in too wet a condition or too heavy, too much organic matter, too much clay or organic matter in our wet winters. But it's done well here. I have it planted at Simple, and Simple, people would call Simple a neglected garden. Well, no, it's neglected if it's a vegetable garden. With a perennial garden, it loves the neglect that it gets here. It's not watered. It has good drainage because actually the soil here is 2 feet above the old railroad tracks that cut through here back in the 70s. So it gets good drainage, and below it are the railroad tracks with the ballast. So it doesn't have a lot of standing or water. It flows through the soil very nicely. So let's take a look at how we'll do this. I'll leave the Perovskia, and I'll leave the Echinacea. And yeah, there's the Echinacea. We got Perovskia. I don't need that many Perovskia. And we're adding Aster twilight. I'll make this as Aster twilight. And we're adding Achillea terracotta. This will be terracotta. Okay, so let's look at terracotta. I'm going to put one here, and I have one on the corner. That's what you'll see in the planting on the screen. And this is Aster twilight here. Let's take out the echinacea. And Aster twilight here. And then I have a Perovskia here. A Perovskia here. There. Echinacea here. Echinacea here. Let's go back so we can mimic the screen. Echinacea there. And I'm going to put in the screen. I'm going to have some Stachys, and I'm going to take the Stachys out and put another Perovskia here. I just, see, I screwed up. Review. I moved the Aster twilight. This is Aster twilight here. Aster twilight here. There's a light blue is Perovskia right here, going over the Aster twilight. Echinacea here. Echinacea here. And the light blue is Perovskia here. And another, let me get another light blue. I've got two Perovskia. I'm going to put one back here and one more echinacea right here. On the screen you can see I went into another pattern, you'll see on the picture, of Stachys going this way. And that's doable, but right now I think I just want to stick with this pattern, and that's the beauty of change. You can change your mind and say, you know what, I'm taking this out. You can put 1, 2, 3 Stachys right here and carry that into your next pattern. So it's all how you're going to take this pattern and blend it in with 2, 3, 4 other patterns. And like I showed you earlier in the show, you can make 5 or 6 patterns and start putting them together. And like that first question I asked you, how does your first choice affect everything? Your first choice, when you look at the growth rate and growth habit of Aster twilight, and you put that down, that's going to determine all the other plants you choose, so it can live with the growth rate and growth habit of the first plant you pick. You can't just put that down and say, well, I like Agastache nepetoides, and I'm going to put one here. That's going to be way too big. So it's not what you like. You start with what you feel. How do you feel? And your feelings will take you in the direction of a successful planting. And the yarrow is more upright. You can see the Aster taller, leaning over the achillea. And right now I just have the 3 Perovskia and the white coneflower. And it could be, you know what? I'm taking this out, and I'm going to put another Aster twilight right here. And then maybe I can work off of this back corner with some other combination. And again, you can see that when you draw your grids together, when you do 5 or 6 of those. So I think this, again, will give you a good start of where you're going to be and help you a lot on your design patterns when you put them actually on paper and take them out to the job site. Let's look at another one. I'm getting too excited here. This is too good. I love doing this stuff. All right, we're looking at Coreopsis Zagreb and Geranium Max Fry. Let me collect the plants that are here real quickly. We'll lay this out. This is going to be Geranium sanguineum again. And the yellow is going to be, I got some out here already, Coreopsis Zagreb. So let me collect these. Okay. Let me collect the twilight, Aster twilight. I got the yellow. A lot of people are saying, geez, is it that much work? You have to walk around the table and do all. Well, it's not that you have to walk around the table. It's just how much you have to come to know about plants before you can actually, well, how many plumbers would you hire? Say you needed a plumber to fix something in your kitchen. And the plumber turned to you and said, hey, what pipes do you think I ought to use? Is that the right plumber you want to hire, or electrician? Yeah, I want to wire my basement. I want to bring a TV down here. And the electrician goes, well, what wire do you think I should use for that TV? That's not somebody you want to hire, is it? That's why without coming to know the plants, how can we actually design gardens if we don't really know anything about them? We're just thumbing through books. It's not going to, it can't be successful. It can be planted, and it can have a good ribbon cutting because it will look good the week it goes in, the first year it goes in, it'll look good. But after that, it's going to be a constant battle between the plants because they have no way of knowing how to associate with each other in growth rate and growth habit. So the game board, when I started doing it, it's like, God, this is really cool because you can start relating things in here, in your head. And they're not really in your head, they're in your mind. Your brain is in your head, but your mind is everywhere. Your mind is seeing things, perceiving things, growing with. Your mind is always out there somewhere. Your brain is in here. So I think when you're using your mind to see and understand and feel and touch and dream, that's when life is just too much fun. So I got off topic a little bit. Okay, I got Coreopsis and geranium max fry. So I'll kind of just show you the image. I just put max fry here, max fry here, max fry here, max fry here. It's an easier pattern. And maybe one over there. And you can see how max fry blends into Coreopsis. They mingle together beautifully. So it's not a complex pattern. Max fry. I got a corner max fry and a corner Coreopsis. So you don't have to have always something complex, but if you look at how these two grow into each other, you can see in the picture the max fry and the Coreopsis will blend together right along this edge. You won't have a distinct boundary. You'll have two of those two plants just blending together with some of the golden yellow this way falling into the geranium and some of the geranium blending in, and that's like your Van Gogh moment or Monet moment in the garden. And that's really, when you look at gardening, that's why it's such an art form. This isn't landscaping. I'm not showing you how to be a good landscaper. This is, and I realize too that I'm the constant intern here. I keep learning and learn just from the show I'm doing. Selfishly, I'm learning a lot from this show for myself, what questions to keep asking me so I can keep moving forward with my ability to figure out how to put plants together. I think the minute you think you know everything, you're kind of done for. And I fully realize that there's so many different changes I could make with this and putting other plants in, and I just can't wait to see what those changes would be into my future again. So I kind of review it, and I just want to see, like I said, let me put another geranium here. It's that transition, and it's where two different plants meet and how they bleed into each other. That really looking for here. Okay, I think this is our last pattern. I have Parthenium integrifolium, achillea terracota, and echinacea purpurea. So let me say, we'll keep the purple out here for echinacea purpurea. I'll have that here. And Parthenium integrifolium, I'm going to use the yellow for that. I'll keep that here. And then terracotta. I'll use the hard pink. Okay. So I start with echinacea. It's right here, purpurea. And in this pattern I have 1, 2, and let's say 3 right here, out there. And then achillea terracota, got 1 here, put 1 here, and 1 here. And I want that echinacea in the back to kind of lean over the terracotta. I've got those flat umbel flowers. So this will be like a Monet moment. Just have that blend in and have 2 of them out here. Push that this way. There, I got about a foot spacing, 15-inch spacing. And then the Parthenium. Parthenium is going to go 1 here one here. Let's try one over here. Okay. I've got terracotta, Parthenium, and I'm thinking, I don't like the two umbels together. Umbellifera. I don't want that together. So I might push that towards the edge, maybe push this out here. And what I'm going to do is put another echinacea right here. I can break up the umbels with the echinacea. And then I think being vertical, it's not in that picture. What's actually in the picture, there's some, looks like some grasses behind a little blue stem. And I got some Amsonia out here, a little blue stem behind it. But I want to space that Parthenium, and I'll put another echinacea right here. I can put them a little tighter. I could put them pot to pot if I want. They'd be bigger. They'd grow into each other fine. And that way I got the echinacea, the flat. I have a flat here, but I think that'll be all right. It looks all right, and it feels good. And if when I see it in person, like a year later, it doesn't feel good, I can change it. And that's what gardening is. You know, it's just small changes you make based on how your composition looks a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And you might even add something. Could be that I take that out and I might put a Sporobolus here and drift a Sporobolus in that direction, in another direction. But you can kind of think about that right now before you put it in. And you can make notes about that, what your future gardening might be. It doesn't even have to be that. Things could change and you change your whole way of thinking. Oh, one more. We got one more left. We got Stachys and salvia and Caesalea autumnalis. Let me clean this up again. Put this over here. I'll leave these out for the Stachys. I got the salvia right here. And I had Caesalea. Here, green. Okay, I'm set. Let me collect these few plants up. Okay. So here's the Stachys officinalis humilo. And I have some, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 Stachys, nice group of 4 here, spacing about 15 inches. And then I have, oh, cool. I have 1 salvia. See, you probably think I review all this stuff. This is the first time I've looked at the picture. I put it up there last week, but I didn't even know how cool this looks. I have a salvia. It's not East Friesland, I'm sorry. It's Salvia Wisui. I use Wisui because it blooms so early, and you'll see in the photograph, it reblooms right through its fading flowers. All the other salvias people prune to get rebloom. You don't have to prune Wisui. It starts blooming heavily in late June, July again, right through its old flowers. And that's like a impressionistic plant on its own. So I just got 1 Wisui. And let me lay out the rest of the Stachys. Here's Stachys. So I have a Stachys here. Stachys here. I've got another Wisui over here. And I think I'll put the Caesalea in. So I've got Wisui here, Stachys, Caesalea, just kind of filling these holes with Caesalea, drifting it through here. 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 Move this here. Yeah. Yeah. Another Caesalea. Now I got them tight on about 8-inch centers. So I said, well, maybe I'll take that out and put it here. I still got 12 inches between there. I don't need that plant in there. See, that's the beauty, again, review. I've said review how many times? About 62 times during this part of the process. But reviewing is important. You got to keep looking it over. And I always use the phrase, look it over 5 times. It might be 3, it might be 4. But you just want to make sure you take another look at it. And they say, okay, sessilaria. And if I want, I can put allium molly in between the sessilaria to have that nice butter yellow in June. And the butter yellow could play off the salvia wisui. So those are bulb elements you can add to it. So it looks all right. That's a good start. I think, yeah, we're at the end of our grid process for the day. So I just, this is the kind of a practice I follow. I really look at growth rate, growth habit of plants, understand their conditions, and also look where you might find, where are they native to, and see what kind of communities they live in. Just learn about, I don't even say learn, come to know. I think if you come to know, it's more personal for you. So I hope this session has been at least different, that's for sure, with the game board. And I think if you practice it within a group, you get a lot more satisfaction sharing ideas and intermingling thoughts with everybody and asking questions. And it's going to be odd to do. You know why it's going to be odd to do? Nobody does this. Most people thumb through a magazine. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, I like that too. Oh, that's pretty. So there's no real sensuality to it. There's no intimacy. So I hope you enjoy yourselves and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Thanks, everybody.